I want to thank everyone for being here. Just from last Saturday's game, we saw two very good football teams going at it. Saw a lot of great things in all three phases of our football team. They made a few more plays than us, and they came out and pulled out the victory. A couple of the highlights, I thought needed to be addressed with our team was the special teams area. Bernard Reedy was 3 times Player of the Week, and we held them to no touchdowns. I thought that was big in the game, and keeping the ball out of his hands. Our 2 true freshmen, our long snapper Marcus McGill, our punter Tyler Grassman did a great job. He had only minus 6 yards in punt return. And I thought that was a big part of the game, and those 2 kids were difference makers. Also, Stephen Means came up with tremendous effort in blocking the punt, or those PATs in the third quarter. We held Toledo to their lowest total, 18 points, which was huge. We kept emphasizing that to our defense. Unfortunately, we gave them a touchdown offensively that they converted a forced fumble into a touchdown. But 18 points was our best effort of the year defensively. We keep getting better. We got 2 turnovers, which is something, or 2 takeaways, which was something that we have not been able to do, and we were able to convert one. Courtney Lester did a great job being in the right place and converting that interception into a touchdown. We held their quarterback under 50% completion. And I thought that was big, too. He's an outstanding player. And then a guy like Derek Brim, for a second straight week, started as free safety for us. Not only Derek Brim had the leading tackles, or was our leading tackler for the game, he also took first place in our special teams point total, which was big, because we evaluate every week and we address each individual that's out there competing for us for special teams. That's how we come up with Player of the Year for special teams, and Derek took that spot at this point. So it's great to see his progress continue to develop. And then offensively, just to have our guys back. And this young man who's sitting next to me, Freddie Lee, who was out, it was probably about 4 or 5 plays into that Kent State game. Really hurt us. But we had some other guys step up. But to get Fred back, which was a little bit sooner than we really anticipated, just shows how fast he can heal. And I tell you, there's been nothing more I could say than to tell you that this is one of the finest in that locker room. This guy's a very solid young man, a great leader, inspirational leader, and brings great energy. And that's why we asked him to come here and represent our football team today. So with that, I'll open up with any questions.
When you look at what you've done on the defensive side of the ball, there's been, what you did against Toledo, as you pointed out, was a great effort. You go back to, the Kent State game. You kind of figure in college football today, if you can hold a team, mid-20s, you should be in pretty good shape. Are you kind of surprised that you haven't been able to do more offensively?
Yeah.
To take advantage of that? Yeah,
we need to put more points on the board. There's no question. And then I think a little bit of some of our firepower. We missed a couple of those guys, for a period of time, but we were able to get them back. And I think that was a great lift to get Fred back, to get Alex Nutz back. Alex Nutz, he comes up with another touchdown. He's now in position behind Naaman Roosevelt. He's had 8 touchdowns in a season, which is the second time any one individual player has been able to do that for us. And Bo's now had 11 100-yard games. But those are yards, and those are things that get you to that point. But we've got to be able to capitalize, and that's something that we keep addressing. We need more explosive playmaking downfield. You're absolutely right. We're doing a good job moving the chains at times. We've seen that. But we've got to be able to connect on some deep throws and be able to take those shots and, give Toledo some credit. They were able to keep us, out of the end zone more than we expected. I thought we could put a few more points on the board. But, at the end of the day, it's execution. We've got great schemes. I feel good. I think Alex Wood does a tremendous job devising up with our entire offensive staff a great plan. Take advantage of the personnel that we face, week in and week out. And, again, we've played some great competition, when you think about it. And at the end of the day, we've got to be able to move forward and put that same effort, if not even more effort, is going to take to beat a Miami Ohio team that's coming in, who throws the ball extremely well. So, they can put points up on the board, but also I think we can, we'll have a great week and a great plan, and we'll be able to go back at it and see if our playmakers can make some of those explosive plays to put more points on the board.
Fred, can you chime in on that? You were able to watch, now you're playing. Does it come down to execution?
Yeah, it just come down to making the big plays. One of the big things I talk about is 30+. We want to have a lot of explosive plays down the field and, running the ball and perimeter blocking. And it's just a lot of things, we got to work on executing better. But, the schemes are in place. We come back every week and we watch film and we see that we had opportunities here and there. And with myself and Bo and Alex Newt's coming back, bringing more leadership and a veteran to the offense, I feel like we can execute and make those plays. And like a lot of younger guys who had the opportunity to play when we were out, they stepped in, they got a lot more confidence now. So with that confidence, knowing that they can play, they can come in and relieve us, and we got the veteran leadership. I feel like our offense is, we on the verge of a big breakout these next 4 games.
Coach, could you evaluate how Nakata played in the final quarter on Saturday and see maybe that answer for more plays down the field?
The last play was a tough one, because we did have the ball in our possession. But again, Joe continues to develop. He does have a good sense to himself and understanding the game. I'm excited about continue watching his growth and development. It's not an easy answer. I don't think there's one particular thing you would say. It's one individual. It's a collection of a lot of things. But Joe can certainly do that. Alex Zordich can do that. We've seen that in him. But it's at the end of the day, it's all 11 guys, and then we've got to make those aggressive play calls. They get the ball downfield, and Fred brings up the point about 30+. We need some big explosive plays like that to get behind the secondary of the defense in order for us to get those opportunities, but also being able to move it into position in the red zone. We did that Saturday. It was nice to see Joe be able to get in there, and move the offense and get us a nice score, right at the beginning of the 4th quarter. But, it wasn't enough, from that standpoint. But we kept battling. The one thing about this football team is they just keep competing, and they're playing with everything they got. And like Fred said, it's going to be important for us to reload this week and get regrouped and get back in action for Miami Ohio. But we're going to address all those things, and we need to make sure all of our players are locked in and understand their expectations and what they're capable of doing in terms of the execution and making those big-time plays. And Joe certainly has that capability, so does Alex Zordich, but it's a collective effort by all the guys.
Jeff, I was confused by why you made the change when you explained it Saturday. Was Alex hurt?
Yeah, he was shook up. That's what I said. He shook up, and so we put Joe in there because of that, and we left him in there, because at that point we felt that was, it was important, Plus Alex Zordich, who's probably one of the toughest kids I've ever coached in my entire career. He was shook up. So, that was as simple as that. There was nothing. Alex Zordich, we did not pull Alex Zordich out of the game, because of any reason for that matter. It was done because he was shook up, and we felt that it was in our best interest for our football team to put Joe in there, and it was great to see him, command the offense and be able to put a big score on the board late or early in the 4th quarter, as I mentioned. But again, at the same time, it was tough late when we had that possession, and I don't care if it's 90 yards or 9 yards. We're very very opportunistic in terms of our approach mentally. And it was tough to fumble that ball, and put us out of the ability to maybe have a heroic late comeback, from that standpoint. But a one-possession game, there's a lot of things in that game that we're going to look back at, and we did yesterday. But our kids, they take ownership just like I do as a head coach and we do as a coaching staff. We're just going to continue to keep playing and keep getting better and go to a place we haven't been, But Zordich is, he's going to practice today, and he's ready to get back in there. And we'll see how the week progresses, and we'll certainly, Zordich is our start quarterback. It's his opportunity, and we're going to continue that route.
Is he a day-to-day situation?
Well, I think we'll see him today. You know, he was very, very, upbeat yesterday. So, he feels, first of all, I don't think he feels pain, from that standpoint, because he's just that kind of tough kid. But, he's going to go out there today, and we're going to practice.
But have you had conversations with him about, keeping his confidence up in the past game, and it'll come? I mean, there's times, he's been inaccurate. There's times balls have been dropped on him at key times too. What kind of conversations have you had?
I mean, Zori's is a leader, like Coach said, and he works extremely hard at everything he does, regardless of whether it's, running in the weight room, passing, everything. We stay out to practice, there's opportunities. We stay out to practice and we catch balls, to help work on it. No quarterback in the nation you can look at and say it's perfect. But Zori is just he's a tremendous leader, and he works hard at everything that he does. And so, we just talk about, working on different things. And but Zori, he's a confident guy. I don't have to ever build up his confidence. You can kind of look at Zori and you gain confidence. You look at a guy who runs and, the tackles he breaks. I call him Zebo. He's an amazing player, and I breed a lot of confidence out of Zori. So if anything, he gives me confidence with his efforts to continue to go no matter what the critics say or what people say about him. He continues to work hard, and he works on being perfect at what he does. So.
Fred, how have you worked even when you were hurt to try to keep everybody focused and keep the attitude good, when the results certainly haven't been what everybody wants? I know that you sort of play a role in that.
Oh, yeah, well, when I went out, my role changed drastically. I met with Coach Quinn and Coach Wood, and it was tough for me. And, they talked to me about the leadership character that, I've been blessed with. And so I took more of a coaching role, and I stood on the sideline to kind of help the younger guys, kind of help them understand. But before the season started, Coach Quinn talks about the next bull in. And that's something I stand firm on and that I tried to emphasize to a lot of the younger guys before the season started, because you never know who's going to be that guy to go out. And, I didn't want to be that guy, but I happened to be the guy who went out. And so, I worked hard to try to, give them everything I could give them, physically and talent-wise, they're right there. Just a few things mentally, and, play calling, reading defense, and certain stuff that I was able to kind of stand back and watch. And from being on the sideline, I saw a lot of things that I felt like I could go back in and do better at when I got the opportunity to come back and play. And so, I'm just excited to be able to be back on the field. And, regards go out to like Nick Moyes and his training staff and everything that they've done to help me get back a lot faster than I expected I would be back. And, Coach Duvall keeping me in shape, working me out, on the sideline while I was out, that did a tremendous job coming back. I really don't feel like I missed too much of a beat. So.
Coach, Freddie and Alex back, you talk about how that helped the run game, because certainly they probably don't get looked at as much or get as much credit for blocking as they deserve.
Yeah, well, you're observing then, Nick, because they did block, and they blocked extremely well, because that's a big part of what that position requires. And, and I think Freddie, he just takes a tremendous amount of pride, and they were keying on him a little bit too. So we had a couple things that we devised up in that game that really helped us. But just his spirit, his determination, as we talked about. Fred cares deeply about this team and cares deeply about his teammates, and that's why you do it, and that's what we talk about, being high achievers, being guys that are other-centered. It's not about you. And Fred caught one pass, but if you look at his effort in the run game, it was tremendous. And a lot of people look at the statistics of one catch, but Fred's attitude is, hey, it doesn't matter if I'm catching them or if I'm blocking, I'm going to go out there and compete. And that's a big lift for our offense. And same thing with Nuts. Nuts caught a couple great, some big-time passes for us, and was able to get the ball moving. And that's what we need. And we need both of these young men in order for us to continue developing our offense, so we can have some big play potential. And then, the run game should be able to open up some of those down the field shots. And we had a couple of those moments. We just weren't able to get behind the safeties, to make that big 60-yard, throw and convert it into a touchdown. We got to keep calling those plays, and we got to keep counting on our players to execute them. And guys like Fred and Alex definitely understand that, and they've been a tremendous lift for our team.
3 guys averaging more than 4 yards a carry, 2 guys over 5. Is it sometimes hard to not just, I know you're an offensive line guy, to not just keep running forward? Certainly nothing against the quarterback, but you are really having success running the ball. Is it hard to keep that balance sometimes?
Well, not really, because I think what you find is, when you're having a lot of success in the run game, that you have the ability to get defenses to bring more attention to the box and get a little closer to the line of scrimmage. And that's where you got to utilize guys like Alex and Fred to be able to get behind them. And that's been a big part of it. But, I feel strongly that, our identity will be and will continue to be in our run game. We want to establish that mental and physical toughness that's so important, and I think our kids really thrive on that. They believe in that, and they know that's one of our strengths offensively. But then also to take it another step further is be able to take those shots downfield and convert on it. And that's one of the advantages, I think, when you have a great running back like Bo, because it takes a lot of attention away from maybe some of the throw game from that standpoint, and along with Zordich's ability to run the ball. I mean, he's been tremendous this year. That one play Saturday was incredible. How many tackles he broke, and just his determination, to escape the rush was tremendous. But to have all those players to have that ability to run the ball has made a big difference in our ability to keep the chains moving and keep our defense off the field. I think that's another thing that it really helps us. In terms of keeping our defense fresh and trying to get them a 3-and-out mentality, and then let us go out there and run, 8, 10, 12, 14 play drives. And that's really what we're trying to craft up here, is that kind of identity and mentality.
Jeff, sometimes numbers can be deceiving, but Miami's defense giving up almost 500 yards per game on average. Can you talk a little bit about what their defense, maybe that's who they played or whatever, give us a little perspective on what that number, that's a pretty big number when you see jump off the stat.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not happy with that. And, you can pretty much, clean the slate, with statistics. In this league, as well as they came up with a big win, at home last week against Ohio. That's the bottom line. If there's one statistic that matters, and we all know that is, have more points at the end of the contest, and yards are yards. But I feel good about where we are. We got to stop their offense. I mean, this guy he's in the 10,000 yard club. I mean, he's up with some very, very prestigious players. Have played in the game. Zach Dicer's an outstanding football player, so they can come right back at you. From that standpoint, they always have the capability to strike. And he's just a big physical kid. He's an accurate thrower. He's got a nice receiver in Nick Harwell. So I think, when we look at, what we have to do offensively, I flip it on to the other side and what we need to do defensively. So it all works hand in hand. But, I feel like our kids, they've been determined for a long time to get a win under their belt. And this is one day at a time, 1 week at a time, and that's all I can afford to let these kids, concern themselves with. And our job is to beat Miami, and we've got to be able to put points up, whether we put 400 yards on them or 500 or whatever it is. We've got to be able to come up with more points, and we got to keep their offense in check, because it's going to be a big challenge for our defense.
That happens through the running game as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can dictate that, and they've been gouged on the ground.
Right.
This year, Dyson doesn't have the ball if you're taking your offense loves the 16 play drives anyway.
Exactly. Well, those are all things you think about as coaches, and that's what you're thinking in regards to your game plan and in that war room, and when you're in those position meetings and unit meetings and team meetings. Our kids know that they got to go to that place and even dig deeper in order for us to be able to successfully achieve the outcome. In 4 quarters, and that's really what it's all about. I asked them last week to go to a place that they haven't been in a while. They're going to need to go to that same place and dig even deeper. And certainly those things are all factors in terms of what I say to our coaching staff and how I present it to our players in terms of the game plan. Look, we know we can run the ball. We've ran against some of the best in the country. We're going to do the same thing again. And now the bottom line is we've got to capitalize, as we've talked about, not having, not shooting ourselves in the foot either. We had a great turnover. That's one of the things. It just irritates me that the fact that we get a great turnover or takeaway for a touchdown and we give it right back to them. those are little momentum shifts and swings and little opportunities that you got to build on. That's going to give us a great deal of confidence to get that win, and that's really all it is. And we got to run the ball well, and and they haven't been as successful as stopping the run. But last week, it was a different story. They ran the ball more against Ohio than they ever had. So they came in with a different mindset, against Ohio from their offensive perspective. So, we got to be ready for all facets, and and that's one thing about our offense, defense, and special teams. We got to be ready for all things from that standpoint.
Newt's opinion is shaken up Saturday as well, and it looks pretty bad on the TV. Is he okay for practice?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Fred said he's going to make sure Nuts is ready to go. That's the tandem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a tough kid too. I mean, believe me, I've coached a lot of kids, and Nuts is as tough as they come, and so is Orridge and Freddie and Bo, and a lot of guys. Our mental toughness and physical toughness is much more, much more displayed, and they're more conscientious of it. And I think that's one of the things, because Alex Nuts, it didn't matter. He got shook up for a moment. He came off, and he went right back out there, and it says a lot. And I think for our young players in our program, they can see that, and that's what this game is. It's a tough game for tough guys, and, you're going to get shook up for a moment. But how you respond and how you get back in there is really the key for us to see that. And our young kids, that's what we're building here.
Fred, can you speak to that? It seems two of you are playing through a bit of injuries.
Coach talks about before the season a level of physical and mental toughness. And physically, we've all been taking a few shots and been down a little bit, but the mental aspect of being tough is able to bounce back from an injury and to come back no matter what. And in that game on Saturday, which was the toughest part about it, is everybody was mentally there. You could look at everybody's eyes, from the O-line to the quarterback to the running back to the receivers to the defense. Everybody on the sideline was ready to play and ready to go. And it was nothing that could happen in that game that was going to keep anybody out from playing. And when Newt took that shot and was shaking up, he was out, and I was worried. And he came back up and said, "I'm ready to go." And we looked at him, and it wasn't a question. Like, okay, let's go, Alex. And he came back out and made some tremendous catches. And that's the mentality that our team has now that I don't think I've ever seen. And that's the way we got to take this season. We got to continue to fight through adversity and through everything that happens, and to continue to build that relationship, because like Coach said, the young guys look up to us, and we got a lot of leadership on this team, and if we want this team to continue to grow, then we got to continue to be tough mentally and physically, working through adversity so that those guys can look at us and build on that so that the program continues to grow for years to come. That's the key.
Maybe you're surprised by anything, but talking to the guys after the game, I'm just amazed at how positive they've stayed the whole time. I know you knew they were tough. Are you surprised at how tough they are?
No, not really, because I've seen them, I've been around these young men, and some of them I've had the opportunity to recruit, so I've been able to evaluate them from their high school playing days. So I knew that's one part of, the decision making when you do bring in players, as you want them to be, mentally, physically tough, but also the development of our upperclassmen in that junior class, and the Nuts and Bo Oliver and the Khalil Mack and Fred Lee class and Alex Zordich and Colby Way. We've seen it developing all along, but one of the things I'm most proud of is that they are mature. They're more responsible for their self-determination of what they expect of themselves and each other, and they're holding each other accountable. And that's why I know that's why this program, is in a much better place than it's ever been. It's being built the right way. We have the right people. We have the right players. We have the right plan. The hardest thing is getting that W, and to get more than just one, getting a collection of W's. But we're going to take the same approach this week as we've done all year long, just like we did when we went to Georgia. These kids are hungry for a win, and there's nothing more important than for me and my coaching staff and our coaching staff to get that for these young men. but we collectively do that. But it's been a real impressive group of young men. That's why, that's why they are positive, because they know they're being treated the right way. They know we're doing things the right way. They know they're getting 100% of our support as coaching staff. There's not a negative thing, and I won't tolerate it from anybody. And anybody internally knows that. Externally, we're not going to let that, infiltrate our program. And that's what I keep telling them. It's what we're all about. The truth of it is these young men, and they're hanging in there with each other because they do care, and they do care about each other. And that's what I said earlier in the year. The closer we become as a team, the better we'll be, and we'll get through these times. And it's not easy. Trust me, it's not easy. But I couldn't be more proud of guys like Fred and those young men that you're speaking to after the game, because that's not easy to come in here and address the group because it hurts, but they're fired up and they're ready to go, and that's really what I hope to see from them on Mondays, win or lose.
Can you give me just update on injuries? How did Bo come out of that game? What's Sherry's situation? Is it a matter of his Brim just leak?
Well, let's start with the injuries. Bo came out really well. Really pleased the way, and he said he felt great, which meant he was ready to go 2 weeks ago. But I couldn't have been more proud just to see the way he hit some of those holes. I mean, he's just, it was great to have him. Everybody else, Whitney is still a little bit more, I thought he would be a little bit further along, but it may need a little bit more time. But it's been nice to see Derek Brim, in there, and he's really taking advantage of his opportunity. I mean, he's had 2 great weeks of performance, and I think that's a great thing too. And that's kind of the way I, discuss with our players. You get a chance to get in there and play, and you've prepared and you've worked hard. It shows you demonstrate a high level of respect for yourself and your teammates, and Derek's taking advantage of it. I mean, he was a non-scholarship walk-on, in our program. And he's done everything. He's an engineering major, comes from a great family. But that's what you hope for. But outside of that, that's really it. Other than George got a little banged up, like I said. He was a little shook up. But, he said he's going to practice today. Outside of that, there's no other stars. We're starting to get them back, which is a good thing at this stage in the game.